what's the difference in mindset versus looking at the Rangers versus looking at us?
Well, I mean, the first off, the Knicks are a much smaller organization in terms of, the Rangers are 20 guys and they're all playing, right? Mm-hmm. There's no rotation. Well, I mean, there's a slight rotation in hockey, but basically all 20 guys play the whole game, right? So it's a much bigger group, right? Also there's obviously a lot less scoring, right? So with basketball, it's a smaller group, and there's Tibbs been playing an 8-man rotation.
I think it's been 9.
9 now, right? Yeah.
Tibbs he's doing his thing. It's increasing.
Right. It's always funny to talk to him about playing time. He's like, he doesn't want to talk about it. I want to win the game. So do we, right?
I'm not mad at him.
The development is different because there's so many players in hockey versus basketball. I mean, Leon had a plan, man with a plan 3 years ago. He executed it. We really changed, over those, from your coming on, et cetera. We changed out the whole group. You can't do that in hockey, right? You can't change out 20 guys. If you do, you're gonna have a mess on your hands, right? You got to build. Right, and then there's the whole question of how do you build, right? Free agents, draft picks. That's the other thing is hockey has a much more developed farm system than basketball does. They see these kids coming from like 13, 14 years old, and they go into this pipeline, right? That is like A, AA, right, et cetera, all the way up. Sometimes some through college, some not through college, right? And you got to watch them the whole way. And so the development of a hockey player, I think, is much more different, much more longer term than a basketball player. Basketball player, you could take a look, put the phenoms aside, right? Basketball players are, they go through high school, right? They go into college, right? It's and a lot changes along the way for them, and who rises up eventually to an NBA level, right? It's not that easily predictable. I mean, you watching the St. John's games at all? You don't watch them because it's not your team.
So they just won the Big East, though.
But they're, it's interesting to watch that team develop. They got a great coach in Patino, and you're watching those players develop. And it's different hockey, basketball. So
look at a guy like, this is an extreme example, but Duncan Robinson, right? Plays Division III and is now has a really meaningful contract. You probably don't see that in hockey. Even you, right? You were what, ranked 80th or 90th?
Extremely rare in hockey. Sidney, I could name on one hand, like Sidney Crosby, right? Just a few, right? And even with, look, you put Sidney Crosby, when he first came on into the team for the Penguins, right? He did make a difference, right? But you can't, there's 20 guys playing. There's 19 other guys, right? The other 19 guys can let the puck in the net, and Sidney can score as heart's desire. You're still going to lose. You won't even make the playoffs. So they've got to develop all 20 of them. And one of the other big differences between hockey and basketball is the cap, right?
I don't know the hockey cap or anything.
So the hockey cap is a hard cap, right? It means it's around, I don't know, I think it's like 90-something million at this point, right? But everybody's got the same cap, right? So you can't, we're New York. If there was no cap, we could sign every player, every great player there was.
So there's no luxury tax or apron?
There's no luxury tax, there's no apron, nothing. It's just a hard cap. You can't go over it.
Do you think that's a net positive for the league or a net negative?
It's created a lot of parity in the league, right? But at the same time, it also, there's no great team, right? In hockey. And it changes. You got injuries, things like that affect the team. So a team can be on top of the world one year, and then the next year, not their star player or two gets injured, and you're playing basically with a $60 million roster against a $90 million roster.
That's interesting. So do you feel like from a league perspective, dynasties and aprons and super teams yield a better product than like a league full of parity?
Up to a point.
Yeah.
Till it gets boring.
I know it's a fine line, right? It's like you want to walk that line.
We have seen, bunches of years where the same team ends up in the playoffs, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it gets a little, especially when it's not your team, right? They get a little tired of it, right? But yeah, I think I mean, and then there are some franchises that never, right? They just don't ever get there.
Do you feel like the implementation of the two aprons helps in that sense, and that it makes it really hard to have a dynasty over 5 years because of how expensive it is?
Oh, I think it's hard to have a dynasty over 5 years. Yeah.
It's been like,
I mean, this is not somebody who's speaking from experience. I'd be happy to have a dynasty for 1 year at this point.
I feel that.
How about this year or next year?
Yeah.
I would like, there hasn't been a repeat champion in what, since the Warriors?
That's the Warriors, yeah.
That's the Warriors,
It's
right?
been different teams and winning every year. So, I mean, it keeps it interesting. I just think that
And there's different
It's a
ways
totally
to
different
develop
ballgame.
a team too. I mean, that's part of what you see. I mean, the like our team approach, right? Is much more what I would call a team approach, right? Whereas I mean, you take a look at like Golden State or Denver, it's basically 2-3 players at the most, right? And then everything else switches out over time, right? It's those 2 or 3 guys are the team, and I think with our team, I mean, it's whole team. I always loved the old Detroit team. They had great players, but no superstars, no superstars, right? I mean, and they won a championship, and the way they won that championship was team play, right? I mean, the way they passed that ball was amazing.
you think about 04. It was like
04, like
Chauncey
Chauncey
Billups,
Billups.
Chauncey
Ben,
Billups,
Oh,
right?
Ben
yeah.
Wallace.
That-
okay.
Rip
that
Hamilton,
team.
Ben
Okay.
Wallace, Tayshaun
Okay.
Prince,
Yes,
Rip
right.
Hamilton.
That team,
Yeah.
right? Who was the coach? Was
Was it Larry?
yeah,
Larry Brown?
Larry
yeah.
Brown, right? That team when they played, I mean, and I think they, I mean, just the way they played, they had 5 guys on the floor, and all 5, right? It wasn't feeding all one guy, et cetera.
So I'm talking about building teams. Obviously, this summer has been was an active summer for us. So what goes through your mind when it's like, okay, here's time to really make a push to make these moves to enhance the team?
Well, look, it's all Leon, right? I am not the architect of this team. Leon Rose is the architect of the team. Him and coach and Wes is in there too, right? But they come to me, right? And when they first started and they had an idea of what they could do, and they said, this is what we're going to try and do. And they keep coming back and say, well, we're modifying this or doing this, et cetera. But, mostly I'm signing the checks, right? And,
Thank you.
Yeah.
I just want to say thank you.
Thank the fans. They're the ones that let me do it. And the other thing I sort of do with, both hockey and with basketball is to say, okay, here's what you told me last year. Here's what you're telling me this year. How do the two jibe with each other? Are you making a significant change? Why are you doing it? It doesn't mean you can't, right? But I will sort of hold them to their plan, right? It's been really easy with Leon. He didn't really veer off the plan at all. He just looked for opportunities. But I mean, in the end, we're together on it, right? And we go forward. And I think it's like I said before. I mean, this team's going to be together for a while now. They've architected it that way, and I think now we work on the team has to work with the coach and develop, familiarity, right? That extra gear, right, that comes from knowing each other and playing with each other for so long, right? That, that's what we wanted to see happen.
But have you always been that way when it comes to, like letting the GM or the president do whatever they want to do? Like since the time you took over to like now, has it always been that way, or
No. I had to learn along the way. We want to go over that, really?
You don't have to. You don't have to. Hey, like I said, this is your show. You can talk about whatever you want to talk about.
I mean, there were times when sort of reach for that shiny, sparkly object, right? They said maybe this is what we need, especially when things were not going well, right? Let's bring in this guy and maybe he'll turn it all around for us. Sometimes it's a player, sometimes it's a coach, right, et cetera. And what I've learned over time is that doesn't work. No, it really doesn't, right? You really have to do the fundamentals, the basics. You got to build the team. You got to build the organization, right? It does not. There is no, waving the wand over a team and making it, all of a sudden a great team. It doesn't happen.
Was there ever a trade or a signing where it didn't happen, but you really wish it did?
Yeah, a long time ago. I gotta even remember. He ended up playing for the Nets. Right. Oh shoot, great scorer.
That's great.
It wasn't Grant Hill. It was a guy out of Toronto.
Vince Carter.
Vince Carter, right? Vince Carter, right? It's a great example, right? That we were going to do the trade. Oh, this is old. And the medical team came back and told us that he had a 90% severed Achilles tendon, right? And that it would never hold up, right? And that if once it ruptured, right, he'd never be the same player. And for that reason,
Didn't happen.
we didn't do the trade, right?
Wow.
And then Vince Carter went on to have 5, 6, 7 years. I kept waiting for his Achilles tendon to break. It never broke. No.
He was hanging on for dear life.
He's putting in 30, 40 a night. Right? I'm like, we certainly dodged a bullet there, didn't we?
Fellas, if you lost your hair, it doesn't mean you can't find it again.
Try Hims Hair Loss Solutions, and you'll be joining hundreds of thousands of subscribers who found their hair again.
Check out their personalized hair loss solutions, and you can start seeing your hair grow back in as little as 3 to 6 months. That's right. You could have your hair again in as little as 3 to 6 months.
Hims makes treating hair loss simple with doctor-trusted options and clinically proven ingredients like finasteride and minoxidil that can regrow hair in as little as 3 to 6 months.
Choose some personalized chewable, oral, spray, and serum treatments to find what works best for you. Matt, you're going to need this, I guess now, because since you're a dad, because your daughter's taking all your hair from you.
Easy, brother. This process is simple and 100% online, so there are no uncomfortable doctor visits. No insurance is required, and one low price covers everything from treatments to ongoing care.
Hims has hundreds of thousands of trusted subscribers, and they can help you get your confidence back with visibly thicker and fuller hair. Yo, I have to get my dad signed up for real.
That's crazy. Start your free online visit today at hims.com/roomies.
That's HIMS.com/roomies for your personalized hair loss treatment options. Again, hims.com/roomies.
Results vary. Based on studies of topical and oral minoxidil and finasteride, prescription products require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if a prescription is appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for full details and important safety information.
Breaking news from Bet365. New customers bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. Sign up, deposit $10, place a bet for $5, and get $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. Bonus bets can be used on the spread, totals, player props, futures, and so much more. Whenever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365.